She stood on the porch holding a police report and her arm in a sling. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed to the officer loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "He snapped last night. I thought he'd kill me." I was in cuffs 5 minutes later. My kids were crying in the window. My neighbor Darren stood behind her, arms crossed like her personal bodyguard. The same Darren who'd started showing up shirtless every morning to mow his lawn like he was auditioning for a Calvin Klein ad. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm 34. I co-founded a SaaS startup in Seattle that just finished its 3rd funding round. Or at least I used to. By noon that day, my face was on Facebook next to the headline, "Local tech entrepreneur charged with domestic abuse." I said nothing. Not during the arrest. Not at the station. Not when they gave me one phone call. I used it to call a lawyer I'd never needed before. Because I already knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. 3 days before that morning, I kissed my kids goodnight and went down to the basement to finish a client deck. My wife Lena said she was heading out for a late gym session. At 10:45 p.m. She smelled like cologne when she got back. The next morning, I checked our shared location history. Hers had disappeared. She turned it off. And I knew. That night she didn't sleep in our bed. Said her back hurt from a bad workout. And when she handed me my coffee the next morning, her hand trembled just a little. Not with fear. With calculation. I didn't say a word. I just went to work and began pulling receipts. Literally. Bank statements. Her texts with Jim Darren. Security camera footage from our Ring system. That was the one she forgot about. But I didn't. I had cloud backup set to upload silently every week. 3 days later, she claimed I'd assaulted her during an argument about money. I hadn't. The argument never happened. The bruises? They weren't real either. Just carefully applied makeup. I recognized the concealer she kept in the downstairs drawer. Waterproof, long-lasting. But here's the thing. Truth doesn't matter when the system only listens to tears and paper cuts. My kids were gone. My job was on hold. My name trashed. And my wife? She was in my house. With Darren. Playing victim. Comforted. Protected. What she didn't know was that she just picked a fight with a man who builds systems for a living. And I was already designing hers. The restraining order came 2 days later. I wasn't allowed within 300 feet of my own home or my sons Alex and Jonah. 5 and 7. My entire world boxed up in a legal document signed by someone who hadn't heard a word from me. I hadn't even been charged yet. Just accused. My lawyer, Denise, was sharp, former prosecutor, zero patience for theatrics. She met me at a diner off 3rd and Pine. "She's playing this smart," she said, tapping the edge of the file. No previous complaints. Medical photos, shaky but passable. Neighbors backing her up. And she filed for emergency custody before we even got a bail hearing. I nodded once. And we fight this surgically. Quietly. This isn't about emotion now. It's about precision. That word stuck with me. Precision. That's what I do. I spent 8 years building code that never breaks. I know where to place pressure. When to wait. When to push. I didn't call Lena. Didn't text. Didn't try to clear the air. That's what she wanted, a reaction. A scene. Something she could twist. Instead, I went to work. Not to the startup. They put me on administrative leave. Investors hate headlines. But I still had access to everything I'd built. Including our AWS stack. Including the audit logs. Including the internal account I created 2 years ago for architecture sandboxing. Nobody else knew about that one. Because I never documented it. On purpose. At 2 a.m. that night, I logged in remotely and downloaded everything I needed: source code, usage metrics, API keys. Legally? Gray area. But ownership was still pending final division and I hadn't been officially removed as co-founder. I left the original systems untouched. I wasn't stealing. I was protecting what I'd built. Then I called Spencer, my old college roommate turned venture analyst. He'd helped me get our first angel round years ago. We hadn't talked in months. But when I said Lena's name, he swore under his breath. "Bro, I told you back in 2018. She's a shark in a sundress." He wasn't wrong. Spencer offered me a guest suite in his place downtown. No questions, no rent. "I don't need space," I said. "I need silence. I need time." He nodded. "Then you've got it." That weekend, I started reviewing the footage. All of it. Every motion alert. Every front door ping. Every whisper I could catch when she forgot to disable the audio. And that's when I saw it. Lena. In the hallway. Practicing her injuries in the mirror. Smiling. She was rehearsing. My hands didn't shake. My stomach didn't twist. I just pressed pause. Then rewind. then hit record. It was the first piece of the puzzle. Not enough for court. Not yet. But it was a beginning. And she had no idea I'd just started the clock. Lena thought she'd wiped everything. She deleted the app from her phone, factory reset the doorbell, even filed a request with Ring to suspend the cloud feed, citing privacy concerns. But she never knew about the hidden cam I'd installed in the garage after our car got broken into last fall. A tiny motion-activated GoPro tucked behind the insulation. It was never synced with anything. Just ran off its own card. That's where I found it. The proof. 2 nights before she called the police, Lena and Darren were in the garage, arguing, loud enough to trigger the mic. "You don't need to go that far," Darren said. "I need him gone," she snapped. "Do you want me to lose custody just because I slept with you? This is the only way it sticks." He looked nervous. "Fake bruises? Cops don't play with that." She got in his face. "You think I'm bluffing? My sister did the same thing in Florida. It works. Men don't win custody. They just vanish." I paused the video, closed my eyes, exhaled slowly. There it was. Strategy. Intent. Not fear, not survival planning. I made 5 copies of the footage. Uploaded one to a secure Swiss cloud. Another on a drive that now sat inside my lawyer's fireproof lockbox. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about protecting my sons. And Lena? She wasn't just manipulative. She was dangerous. The next move came from her side. A lawyer letter, cheerful language dressed in legal venom. They wanted to negotiate terms for a peaceful separation, including full physical custody, supervised visitation for me, and, here's the kicker, a financial review of all shared assets, including my premarital equity in the startup. Of course, her attorney wrote, "We expect full cooperation during this difficult time, for the benefit of the children." I read it twice, then a third time, not because I didn't understand it, because I wanted to admire the audacity. She didn't want peace. She wanted everything. The kids, the house, the money, and she was betting I'd fold to save my reputation. But I had time. I had documentation. And I had something she'd long stopped considering me capable of: patience. Lena's lawyer followed up with a friendly reminder email about the deadline to respond to their custody terms. I didn't reply. Denise did. One sentence. "We reject all terms and will be filing our own petition." Lena wasn't expecting that. The next day, she called me. Blocked number. I picked up, said nothing. She launched right in, not anger, not panic. Sweet, syrupy calm. "Marcus, we don't have to turn this into a war. The kids need stability. This isn't personal." No, of course not. Just fabricated charges, a destroyed career, and exile from my own children. "I'll let the lawyers talk," I said, and hung up. Then I went to work. I filed a motion for emergency evidentiary hearing. Included were the garage footage, metadata logs showing the deletion of cloud data from her devices, and a copy of the Ring clip, her applying makeup over her so-called bruises. Denise packaged it clean, professional, airtight. Judges don't respond to drama. They respond to timestamps and contradiction. Then we subpoenaed Darren. His name was on too many texts, too many bank records. He'd used my Netflix, my Wi-Fi. He was traceable. And he was nervous. That's when the cracks started. He missed his first deposition. His attorney requested a delay. Claimed health reasons. Translation. He was starting to realize Lena's story was built on sand. And behind the scenes, I got to work rebuilding. I started coding again. Not for the startup. For myself. 2 weeks in, I had a prototype for a data integration tool I'd once pitched. The one Lena said was too niche. I sent it to Spencer. He showed it to a guy at Amazon. 3 calls later, I had a buyer. The offer? $28.4 million. Just like that, my life changed again. Quietly. Without fanfare. I didn't post a single photo. No celebration dinner. I didn't tell Lena. I didn't tell anyone except Denise, who just said, "That'll cover the next phase nicely." Lena had taken everything. My name, my kids, my peace. Now I had leverage. Real leverage. And I wasn't going to spend a cent until I had them back. It was a Thursday afternoon when she showed up. I'd just finished a call with Spencer about the Amazon deal when Denise forwarded me a message from Lena's attorney. Subject: client-initiated discussion of amicable settlement. Translation: Lena figured out I wasn't broke anymore. An hour later, she texted me directly, breaking every rule of the protective order. Lena, can we talk? Just us? I never wanted it to get this far. I didn't answer, but Denise filed the text with the court immediately. That violation alone was enough to open the next door we'd been waiting on. Still, I knew what was coming. And I was right. 2 days later, she showed up at Spencer's building. Bright dress. Sunglasses. A sorry for everything smile. She didn't even look nervous. Marcus, she said like she was greeting an old friend. Can we just talk for 5 minutes? I didn't let her in. Just stood behind the glass door. You destroyed me, I said, calm as steel. She rolled her eyes. I was emotional. I didn't think you'd actually go to jail. Darren said. I cut her off. Stop. Just say what you came to say. Her eyes flicked down, then back up. Look, with everything that's happened, I think we should just split things fairly. Move on. For the kids. There it was. The ask. Not an apology. Not accountability. Just entitlement in a new wrapper. Half, she added, of the Amazon deal. We built that life together. I laughed. Out loud. You framed me. You tried to erase me from my son's lives. And now that you think I'm rich, you want equity. She tried to look wounded. We were married. That means something. It meant something to me, I said. And you killed it the second you staged a crime scene. She flinched. Just barely. I took a slow breath. You want half? I'll give you something better. I'll give you court. And then I walked away. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just gone. Because when someone shows up smiling after they've set fire to your life, you don't talk. You show them what silence with evidence looks like. The hearing was set for Friday. Lena arrived with a full legal team, fresh blowout, pearls, and that same look she wore when she used to lie to my face about working late. Her lawyer went first. Calm, reasonable, well-rehearsed. Claimed Lena had endured emotional volatility and acted out of fear. Called her actions a misguided cry for protection. Then they pivoted to the money. They argued that my startup success came during the marriage and that Lena had supported the household while I built my business. Support? She drained our accounts, cheated, and filed a false police report, all while giggling with Darren in my living room. But I stayed quiet. Until Denise stood up. Cool. Crisp. No theatrics. She walked the judge through the timeline. Emails. Metadata. Copies of deleted surveillance footage. Each piece lined up, a clean takedown. And then she played the tape. Lena. In the garage. Rehearsing bruises. Laughing with Darren about what they'd tell the cops. The courtroom went dead silent. Even her own attorney looked blindsided. Then came the second clip, Darren admitting this wasn't Lena's first time doing this. We'd found an old voicemail from an ex she'd threatened the same way. That guy never pressed charges, but his voice, pleading, was enough. The judge looked at Lena like she'd grown horns. 10 minutes later, the protective order was lifted. Custody was reopened. The false claims were referred for criminal investigation. And Lena? She didn't look smug anymore. She looked small. But the best moment was when the judge turned to me and said, Mr. Hale, thank you for your restraint and thoroughness. You saved this court time and your children from a very dangerous lie. I didn't nod, didn't smile. I just looked at Lena. And for the first time in months, she had nothing left to say. 3 days after the hearing, Lena was served again, this time by the county prosecutor. 2 felony counts, falsifying a police report, tampering with evidence. And just like that, her misguided cry for protection became a criminal case. Darren vanished, packed up and left the state within a week. His name was on too many documents and the DA wasn't about to cut him any favors. Lena's lawyer quit. Publicly. She tried calling me again, blocked number, desperate voicemail this time. Tears, apologies, begging? I forwarded it to Denise. We logged it as Exhibit 37. And then I did something unexpected. I filed for full custody. It wasn't about punishment. It was about protecting my boys. Because no child should be raised by someone who teaches them that lies are power and innocence is a weapon. Lena's defense team tried to pivot, mental health angle, stress, trauma. Anything to make her look like a victim again. But the paper trail was too clean. Too intentional. Her texts. Her deleted footage. Her voice on tape discussing how to frame the story. It wasn't just bad judgment, it was premeditation. In court, she wore beige. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Classic optics play. Didn't matter. The judge awarded me primary custody. Supervised visitation for her. Twice a month. No overnights. I didn't gloat. Didn't celebrate. I just hugged my kids tighter that night than I had in months. And when they asked if mommy was in trouble, I said, she made some bad choices, but we're okay now. And I've got you. Because at the end of it all, this wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding. And Lena? She was finally learning what it felt like to be erased. The sentencing hearing wasn't mandatory. I didn't have to show up. But I did. I sat in the back row. No tie. No emotion. Just presence. Lena entered with her new attorney. Public defender, young, overwhelmed, already tired of her. She scanned the room, saw me, hesitated, then forced a smirk like none of this touched her. It did. The DA laid it all out. The lies, the planning, the cost not just to me but to the system she exploited. Hours of police time, court time, a man nearly jailed, children weaponized. Lena didn't speak. When the judge asked if she wanted to make a statement, she shook her head. Couldn't even muster the act anymore. And then came the sentence. 12 months probation, community service, mandatory therapy, a formal public record of her false claims. But the part that mattered, the part she didn't expect, came next. The judge added a civil liability clause. Open door for damages. She looked over, confused. That's when it hit her. She wasn't just done criminally. She was open, exposed, vulnerable. And I wasn't even finished yet. Outside the courtroom, her mother approached me. Tears, pleading. Marcus, please. She's still their mother. Don't destroy her. I looked her in the eye and said the only thing I'd been waiting months to say. She did that herself. Then I walked past them both. No threats. No victory speech. Just the quiet weight of a man they'll never underestimate again. 3 months passed. The house was quiet again. The boys were adjusting better than I'd hoped. Fewer nightmares. More laughter. We started making routines. Real ones. Not just survival patterns. I cooked breakfast. Walked them to school. Read every paper that came home from class, the stuff she never bothered with. And Lena? She disappeared. No calls. No visits. Just static. Until one Thursday morning I got a voicemail. Lena, shaky, rehearsed. Hey, I know I'm not supposed to reach out, but something happened with Darren. I'm not sure where to go. Can we talk? Of course. The moment it all collapsed, she remembered my number. I didn't respond. 3 days later, her mother called. Then her sister. Same story. Darren had taken money from her. Left her name on 2 unpaid credit cards. She was behind on rent. Needed help. From me. The man she tried to erase. The same week, Denise handed me final paperwork from the acquisition. After taxes and restructuring, I cleared $19.3 million. Clean. Untouchable. I used a small portion to set up a trust, only for my sons. College, healthcare, life milestones. Not a dime would touch Lena's name. Then I made another move. I founded a nonprofit, Foundation for False Accusation Reform, focused on helping fathers caught in the system with no voice, no proof, just guilt by default. We launched with 5 cases. All men like me, quiet, erased, ready to fight back. The press picked it up. Local at first, then national. Suddenly, my story wasn't just a whisper in court records. It was a spotlight. And that's when Lena tried again. An email. No subject. No greeting. Just 3 words. You made me nothing. No, you did that all by yourself. I just stopped saving you. Once the story went public, the backlash started. Not against me, against her. The footage. The lies. The fake bruises. It all hit social media. Not by accident. I never released it directly. I didn't have to. Someone from the courthouse leaked the case summary. Local dads forums picked it up. Then came the podcasts. Then the national outlets. I watched it unfold from my living room. Kids asleep. Whiskey in hand. Headlines scrolling past. Seattle startup founder framed by wife. Fights back with evidence. False abuse allegations. The case that's changing family law. Lena's friends unfollowed her. Her teaching credential? Suspended pending review. Her landlord raised the rent the second her probation status went public. And every time someone mentioned my name online, it came with the same phrase. He never raised his voice. He just proved it. Some called me cold. Some said I lacked compassion. They weren't wrong. Compassion got me arrested. Silence nearly lost me my kids. Calm was all I had left. But I wasn't bitter. I was precise. I even sent her one last email, through Denise, properly filed, clean language. There will be no further contact, no financial support, no reconciliation. My focus is the well-being of my sons. Any violation of this boundary will be treated as legal harassment. She didn't reply. But a week later, her cousin, the one who used to smirk at my little business, messaged me on LinkedIn. Said he admired how I handled things. Asked if I was hiring. I didn't respond. Because the thing about revenge? You don't announce it. You just let people walk through the ruins they built and wonder how it all collapsed so quietly. I used to replay our old arguments in my head. The ones where she'd say things like, "You're lucky I stayed this long. Without me, you'd be just another code monkey with no drive." Funny thing is, she never saw me working at 2 a.m. building the platform from scratch while she watched reality shows and scrolled Instagram. She saw comfort, not ambition. She married a man she thought she could outgrow. And when she couldn't outgrow me, she tried to erase me. Yeah? She's renting a basement apartment in Rainier Beach. Drives a 10-year-old Civic with a cracked windshield. Her bank account? Frozen after the civil suit I filed, which I won by default when she didn't show up to court. She tried to claim hardship. Said she was emotionally traumatized and financially unstable. The court didn't care. The documents spoke louder than the tears. Meanwhile, I bought back my time. No office. No schedule. Just me, my sons, and the life I earned, one court motion, one piece of evidence at a time. I show up for school plays. I pack lunches. I listen when they talk. And when my oldest asked me, "Dad, are we safe now?" I looked him in the eyes and said, "Yeah, buddy. We're safe." Because safety isn't just about alarms and locks. It's about control, clarity, stability, everything she tried to take. I rebuilt. Without noise. Without rage. Just structure. Boundaries. And a stack of receipts. There was a time when even my own friends didn't know what to believe. I'd show up at gatherings and people would get quiet. Awkward glances. Polite nods. Nobody said it, but I saw it in their eyes. Maybe he did it. Maybe she's telling the truth. Men don't get the benefit of the doubt. Not in family court. Not in public opinion. Especially not when you stay calm instead of falling apart. But that silence? That was my advantage. I didn't beg anyone to take my side. I didn't go online trying to clean my name with tweets and sob stories. I just let the facts pile up. And when the time was right, I gave them the footage. Not with a press release. Just a quiet leak. A journalist I trusted, someone who'd been burned by a false claim once, too, ran it clean. No bias. Just truth. The full timeline. The metadata. The deleted files. The clip of Lena rehearsing her bruises in front of the mirror. People didn't just believe me after that, they were angry for me. Old colleagues reached out. Apologies. Support. One of them even offered to nominate me for a civic award. I declined. Because this was never about being a hero. It was about not letting a lie define the rest of my life. It was about showing my sons what quiet strength looks like. Not yelling. Not posting. Not burning down her world in some emotional frenzy. Just building something better. And letting her choke on the silence she left behind. After the storm cleared, I didn't vanish. I got louder. Not in volume, in action. The foundation I built? It exploded. Lawyers. Forensic experts. Therapists specializing in post-false accusation trauma. I didn't just write a check. I showed up. Sat in meetings. Reviewed cases. Talked to men who were still sleeping in their cars because someone like Lena rewrote reality with a smear and a tear. We filed for policy reviews. Pushed for digital evidence requirements in domestic cases. Worked with state reps to draft safeguards for emergency orders. You know what I learned? The system doesn't hate men. It just assumes they'll stay quiet. I didn't. And the system started listening. I got invited to speak not at rallies, not at protests, but at judicial ethics panels. Bar association luncheons. Private meetings with DAs who'd seen too many lives torched by the right lie at the wrong time. Every time I walked in, I wore a suit, spoke clearly, never raised my voice, never told them they were broken, just showed them where it cracked. And every time I left, they remembered me. Because there's power in being the man who never swung back but still hit harder than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Lena? She tried to move to another county. Didn't get far. The foundation's attorney filed an official fraud alert with her new landlord. Not out of spite, out of obligation. Actions follow you, especially when the receipts don't expire. By the end of that year, my life didn't look like survival anymore. It looked like peace. I had full legal custody. The business I started was running on auto. The foundation was helping its 12th man fight a custody battle with hard evidence and winning. People kept asking me, how did you stay so calm? I didn't. I just stopped using emotion as currency. Lena weaponized sympathy. I weaponized documentation. She built her case on manipulation. I built mine on structure. Every receipt, every deleted file, every camera angle she forgot existed. It was all there because I treated the betrayal like a system crash, not a tragedy. And when you build for failure, you never panic when it happens. Sometimes I still drive past the house. The one I lost. The one she turned into a theater for her drama. It's empty now. Foreclosed. Paint peeling. Mail stuffed in the door slot. Even the yard looks like it gave up. And me? I live in a 2-story craftsman near the water with the boys' drawings taped to the fridge and a dog that never leaves my side. I don't tell them much about what happened. They don't need to know who their mother became. They just need to know this. Dad didn't give up. Dad didn't yell. Dad didn't break. He built. The last time I saw her, she was sitting on a bench outside the courthouse. No makeup. No smile. Same dress from 2 hearings ago. She didn't see me walk past. Didn't say my name. Just stared at the pavement like it had answers she'd never find. I didn't stop. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. What would I say? That she traded a family for a lie? That she tried to erase a man and got erased by her own reflection instead? No. She already knew. My silence was the closing argument. Back home, I tucked my boys into bed. They asked if I'd come to the next school assembly. I said wouldn't miss it. They smiled. Believed me. Trusted me. Because that's what I rebuilt, trust. Not revenge. Not spite. Structure. Stability. Clarity. I don't post about the money. I don't flaunt the settlement. I don't mention the law changes that came after the foundation's 3rd case. I just live. That's the real victory. She wanted half of everything. Now she is half a life. And I disappeared for good.